Propane.
Dude, is it cool if I
Fart.
record this? Because I want to remember this conversation for a while.
Dude, I'm
Because
not opposed to.
because I have a
recording.
story you actually brought back a memory
I
that
did.
I haven't thought about since I was a kid.
Really
Seriously.
interesting.
And
I
I
want to know
wanted to
this.
tell you
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this.
Tell me.
So, talking about the guy that he probably died when he was ripping ass the entire day and the entire night, because that dude's probably like a gaming enthusiast where he's slamming down like 10 Mountain Dews and
Yeah.
like Red Hot Cheetos to the max. He's got like a couple of microwave burritos
Probably
on
like
point.
taquitos and like those quarter pounders from Sevi.
Yeah, this dude probably like stocked up for a couple days just to have a marathon where he's just 24 hours straight just gaming in his little cubicle of a room,
Oh, dude, yeah.
right?
Yeah, he's just, it's just a war, huh? He's just going at
Yeah.
it.
And like probably by 2 o'clock, he's got so many Bee Gees because he's been thinking about his life choices and he has regrets about some girl that he got dumped by and like something else. And then he starts getting all nervous and then his stomach just like
Yeah, it starts burping.
and it starts getting bad and then he just starts blowing and it's like a train from that at that point.
I have farted sometimes to the point that it's nauseating. I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, I know you've had a couple of those. They're usually that strong in the shower.
They're so bad that you actually start to want to throw up yourself. And I guarantee you that dude, it started smelling like that. But at what point do you feel like maybe he recognized that he actually had a chance of suffocating because he wasn't getting enough air?
I think
Or do you
that-
think it was like a slow process?
I think it was a
like
slow process
death?
where he was inhaling a ratio of the because like the atmosphere, sorry,
Jeez.
you
Dude, I know that one's gonna be
we
bad.
breathe like
I already know.
supposedly around 21% oxygen, and then the rest is like carbon, nitrogen, at a very very like small. I'm sorry. We efficiently take in 21% of the overall oxygen we breathe in, but there's like less than 1% is accumulation of like nitrogen and hydrogen.
So he just had the wrong kind of fart
But
air ratio.
All I can imagine is he was farting consistently in such small quarters that the air at which he consumed was not exactly proportional to the gas at which he was putting out.
Oh.
So he was consuming his ambient oxygen faster than he was
Releasing it.
releasing it. And so at that point, he's now filling the room. And this is actually could be a calculus, what they call related rate question. And so there's a concentration of his farts filling a constant amount of space, while the initial concentration of the species of oxygen is changing with respect to time. And I'm not trying to get.
Is this like the fart vortex?
This is a legitimate calculus problem. It could I would never do this in school.
Well, what is the solution though?
Well, the solution is you would have to the related rates would be what they call a separable equation. Your brother probably remembers all this stuff, maybe not.
Yeah, because he's crapped his pants like 5 times.
You could do a separable equation where you have related rates, and rate 1, which could be the oxygen that you're consuming, could be your rate 1, and then your gas that you're producing would be your rate 2, or you can call R1X and your R2Y, and you can use calculus to do a related rates equation.
Based on how big the room is and how fast oxygen is going to get depleted or replaced by fart particles.
So you would have to consider the initial concentration of the species or the initial concentration of the oxygen in the room, and you would have to consider the concentration at which you are producing by gas, and actually could be a really complicated problem, because every time you fart, it's probably not the same amount of volume you're producing, as well as the same concentration. So that's a heavy question. That's like, that would actually be dang. That could probably actually, if I solve that, it could be a good.
You could actually you could figure it out. You could solve this urban legend.
But yes,
through math.
So what you said was, what's the solution to this? Well, I think this person was undergoing a slow process, which, it's much.
So I mean, he essentially gassed himself. He poisoned himself to death.
So I think
that's
a point where he was taking it in at such a slow rate that eventually it got to a point where it then altered his frame of thought. I don't think it's just.
He might have started.
I don't think it's a rapid psychological transition. I think it's just over time.
What is it called? Hypoxia or something, when you lose oxygen.
Hypoxia. Yeah.
Ability to be able to think, and it kind of slowly gets you. So
right.
he was like
hit you. It's a process, and then all of a sudden they seem to be altered.
So like the more elevation through like the ass cloud that actually was actually descending on him throughout the day, right?
Throughout the day.
Because it rose, but there wasn't enough room up there, so it just started to come down and just started
and so now he's
kind of cooking him alive.
His O2 intake and his CO2 outtake, because of the gas that he's producing. Dude,
Dude, that is heavy.
But you'd have to be committed. I mean, you'd have to eat.
That's what I'm saying. This dude probably had a ham traffic jam.
And no ventilation, obviously. That would clearly be the game changer. Let's say he was in a very tight room, and he was really uncomfortable with anybody, maybe seeing what he's doing. So maybe he was kind of stuffing a towel, at part of the door, and let's say he didn't have a window in that room, and let's say he was purposely sniffing his own farts, because some people are like that.
Some people like that. They do. They like to relive the flavor of their food.
I was having a conversation. Yes.
Oh man, that's true.
I was telling Camille the other night that I smell my own farts, but back to this guy. He never had a chance from the start. He never had a chance from the start.
Do you feel like maybe there's some self-sabotage in there? Maybe he actually wanted to die from his own farts. Do you think he was trying to be the first person in the world, death by self-flatulation?
Yes, I believe he was a huge myth-busting follower, and he put it to the test. But dead men tell no tales.
Put it to the test? There must have been an OG that tried it back in the 70s. Don't you think? Like, the myth started with some OG, maybe even back to the 50s.
Someone could, maybe this guy wasn't the first. Maybe someone else did achieve, that, self-inflicted, suicidal, fart, asphyxiated suffocation. I don't know how to label it. There's,
fart asphyxiation.
We would have to be, like half-baked, We would have to think, how Kill the Dog thought. We'd have to be Kill the Dog to know, what Kill the Dog was going to. And to do that, you really have to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Maybe this guy did. Maybe he thought he was somebody else. He could have been.
Well, I mean, I have to admit something. This goes back to that memory that I was telling you about.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And when I was a kid, I remember hearing that story about the dude that tried to blow himself up internally. You know what I'm saying? Just
yeah.
So I really thought about that, and it really hit me.
Goodness, too, that room could have exploded.
It really could have.
I mean, just by personal experience, you lit your own farts, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
they are as combustible as propane. I mean,
Dude, I have
when you fart,
blue darted and I have burned my butthole from
oh,
doing
dude.
that. It was nuts.
I've caught
And
on
I burned the
fire.
bottom of my balls too.
Really?
Yeah. It was that kind of explosion.
That's pretty serious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it just goes to show how concentrated it is.
Crazy concentrated.
I wish we didn't
Insane
come
and
to
concentrated. Okay. Back to this idea that he might have done it on purpose, right?
that. Yes.
I remember now, and this probably is the first time, I'm not making this crap up, and it's the first time I've thought about this possibly since I was a kid or a teenager or something that was still in my memory, right? And it popped back in. I tried it. I went into a tight space. It might have been, oh dude, it was crazy. I remember going into maybe like a cardboard box or something and testing out the theory and getting myself really bubble guts to the max. And I would think I was only like 12 or 13.
How did you do it?
And I just went in there and I thought, you know what? I'm
You
gonna
didn't have a
test this
brother-
out.
You didn't have a brother tape the box shut?
No, but if he did, I probably would have died.
I mean, because I don't know if I could stay in the box.
No,
If the fart's too strong.
no, man, I didn't tell.
That's commitment.
Dude, I didn't tell my brother about it. I was doing it solo.
Oh, wow.
So-
I see. She's there putting ball to bed.
Yeah.
Shit, I wasn't listening.
So I went in the box and I started ripping ass. I mean, like, I was going, and it was so bad that it was like, it was hard to breathe.
Dude, how did you stay in there?
I stayed in there as long as I could, but I went in there thinking that if I were to die from a fart, that at least it would be my own. I went out in style. I'm not trying to die by somebody else's farts, right?
No.
But if I'm going out, it's like,
You
I gotta go out in
from
style.
your own production.
but I went into that experiment
You tried.
knowing that, at least believing that I could have died. So what was wrong with me to want to kill myself from my own farts?
That's true.
Right? So maybe that dude was
I think
not really trying to kill himself, but he was okay with dying from his own farts.
yeah, he must have been okay with death at some point to
Yeah.
see if he could. I mean, because, you know, at what point does it become a problem of suffocation with the lack of oxygen to the point of poisoning? You know?
It's probably both.
Because, I mean, dude.
You're literally like, you're soaking up like shit particles that are floating
Yeah, dude.
into your lungs. And it probably goes into your bloodstream and then it hits like your brain. You're just like, what is this shit? Like it actually breaks down into some kind of like electrical signal into your brain that you got like just shit flowing through you.
I don't know if I could last. If someone said, I will give you $1 million if you could be in a box just big enough for your body, taped shut, and you have to be in this box for 1 hour, and the only ventilation in is the ventilation from like the gnarliest truckers in the world farting into tubes that lead to the box. And you know, but on the bright side is that it's not a complete seal on their butts.
So there's some oxygen
can
gets
get in,
through.
but
The
it's
concentration
not
isn't
a lot.
very, it's not that
Yeah,
much.
the concentration is greater of their farts versus the oxygen, but there is oxygen coming in, and I would have to at least endure 1 hour. I don't know if I could make it for $1 million. I'd try. But
No, like would it even be possible to survive?
every corner there's a trucker farting into it. Like, the gnarliest trucker belly gas. Like,
Oh, are we talking about chili dog farts that have been stewing for like
yeah,
5 hours
with,
of
like,
bumpy roads?
on like And the icing on the cake, big gulp soda, like.
Ooh, no, we're
know,
talking about a 64
like a fresh
ounce.
soda.
64 ounce, filled it up at Taco Bell.
Yeah,
Ooh, Baja Blast!
Yeah, Baja Blast, dude.
Oh, hell
Just like
yeah.
you said, the chili cheese fries and the taquitos.
Dude, he got them flaming hot taquitos.
Oh, dude. Whoa.
Dude, and his mom called him while he was on the road and gave him all sorts of Bee Gees.
Yeah, they need to pull over and crack some beers. That never helps.
Dude, it doesn't help.
So
But,
now
I mean, it
he's
helps
got-
take away the pain of a lost childhood, but it doesn't take away the pain of a chili dog and some beer rumbling.
Oh, yeah, dude. Chili dog, beer gut, like swamp ass mud butt. I mean, dude, that's like. Like,
Dude, and his
temperature
AC
doesn't help.
broke too. His
Yeah,
AC
so
broke.
His AC's not working.
Oh,
So
that's
not
some
only has
swamp.
he got some fart, but it's like moist.
That means
heavy.
it's like a humidifier.
Yeah.
So if every trucker on every corner of the thing was ripping moist, it would
mud
actually increase or actually would it
shit.
decrease? Would actually act as a humidifier inside, so you'd actually get kind of like an air conditioned.
Yes. Well, so so if they're producing really, really warm to hot, moist farts in the box, and the temperature outside the box is warm, but their production of farts is even warmer,
Yeah.
then the pressure inside the box will increase
Oh.
because of the gas molecules going in. So now
Oh.
the pressure in the box won't increase, but the problem
does that do to
is
the
I'll
temperature?
be inside. Yeah, so like
Yeah.
like to like a physicist or someone who's just big into physics, like all those little gas molecules coming out of their butthole, going through the tubing into the box.
Dude, that's a
the
lot of
more-
space they gotta fill.
The more particles there are, and the greater the moisture and the temperature, causes the electrons of those elements to vibrate, and the more vibration,
The hotter
the
it
greater
gets,
they
right?
call chaos, and the greater the chaos, the greater the pressure, and potentially greater the temperature, because they're changing the temperature inside the box due to the moisture fart.
Wow.
And that wouldn't be good. I mean, not only do you have to endure their fart particles, but now the pressure of the box is increasing, and pressure wants to take its least resistant route. So
Wait.
it goes through a process of diffusion. So if the pressure in the box is getting greater than the pressure inside you, then it's going to force a lot more of those fart particles inside you
Oh, damn.
quicker than you want it to.
Dude, I have do you think it's possible that you could create some kind of fart storm inside of the box at that point? Because if you introduce, say on this side, like the dudes were, somehow you like introduce some cold farts, like cooled farts,
Yeah.
with some kind of like, refrigerated farts on that side. And then you have really hot, like extra swamp ass farts coming on this side, just like blasting heat. Could you create
You could create a geo fart storm.
a geo fart storm inside the box and have there be fart rain, because then the particles suddenly got back together and they create fart rain, and then you have a fart tornado inside.
It'd be a
It would be the best science experiment.
Dude, I would not be able to last an hour. No matter how I want that.
No, you wouldn't last an hour.
Dude,
You would not last an hour.
no.
It would be like 5 minutes.
And it would have like
No, it would be the first minute.
every couple of seconds, just every couple of seconds.
Dude, it would be echo too, so it would be like an optical. No, it would be like an audio illusion. It would be like the worst kind of 4D theater experience, because you're not only getting blasted, but you got to listen to all of them too. There's 4 dudes.
Dude. Oh my god.